introduction, even though everyone in Westlake Village Art Guild knows who Helane Freeman is. What would we do without her? All these amazing videos she's put together for us. But today she is the star of our show. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Helane.
Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to have fun with me and take a gander at my studio. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised, grew up in Thousand Oaks. I went to Westlake High School. It's charter class. Yay, Warriors! When I was really young, I had a difficult time learning how to read. I didn't really learn to read till I was in the 8th grade, had a little bit of dyslexia, fell in love with art on the day of my 14th birthday, and have never stopped. My mother went around town and she actually talked the manager of our local bank here in Thousand Oaks to show and sell my artwork off of the walls. And every time one sold, I had a savings account, so every time one sold, they would just put the deposit of the money in the account. It was really cool. And I thought, my gosh, if my mom could go around town and convince people in a bank to show my artwork at 14. They could not have expected that I was any good at 14, but they took a risk and it worked. And I thought, if my mother had the ability to do that, if I went around with little slides of my work and a little business card, maybe I can talk more banks and savings and loans into setting up the same program. So I got a friend of mine who was old enough to drive. He drove me around. I had a list of where to go, and I gave my little pitch, and I started booking myself shows all around town. At one bank I went to, they said, well, we only exhibit people from the Westlake Village Art Guild. And I said, what's that? And I had no idea. So they introduced me to the guild. At that point, I started joining, and I went to all the dinner demos. They had an exhibit chairperson that said, anybody want to show work? And I said, me. So she went ahead and put me into real estate offices and beauty parlors. And all of a sudden, I had artwork all over town, and I could sell off the walls. And this was my first fine art experience. From there, I got a job working for a research group called Essex Corporation. And there I did things like I rendered a transmission to an RTC bus in watercolor. By the way, if you've ever reading an instruction manual and you think, gosh, the person who did this drawing has never actually seen the thing in real life, well, let me tell you, possibly yes. I never saw one in real life. I did an RTC transmission bus so they could replace one, and all my renderings were done by a verbal description. I never actually saw what I was drawing in real life. It was kind of entertaining, but a great learning experience for me. Upon then, after high school, went to Moore Park, and then, of course, Art Center College of Design, my passion school where I really wanted to go. I majored in illustration. After I graduated, I freelanced. I went on to do over 100 record album covers, and I got 6 gold and platinum records. And then after that, I went to work at an ad agency, and I was an account executive and an art director for both Universal Pictures and Disney Educational Television. I did that for about 5 to 6 years, upon which point I got married and had children, and I wanted to stay at home and raise my children, so I started freelancing. And freelancing, I was very successful. I worked for Disney and Mattel. I did a bunch of Game Boy and PlayStation manuals, things of that nature. It was really a lot of fun. After 25 years or so of doing this, I decided that I wanted, at this point in my life, become a fine artist, and this is where I've been dedicating and committing my time. So with no further ado, let's take a look at the good stuff, what I keep in my cabinets and how I like to work. The other thing is I really enjoy collecting antiques, so I've got some really fun antique art supplies and things that I also want to share with you. So let's get going. One of the first things I'd like to show you is I have this amazing, they called it the second portable, but it's a 1928 Remington portable typewriter, and it goes in this little case. It would lock up, and the paper actually loads into it flat instead of upright. It's very unusual, and the whole cartridge lifts up like this, and then when you push the keys down, you can tell it sort of lays flat into the and snaps the paper. So this whole thing raised as if it was a bigger typewriter, and then when you needed to go and walk around, you lowered it, you put the lid on it. Obviously the handle was broken, but you could then carry it around. We got this from a friend of mine who went to college back in the, I don't know, 20s or 30s, and he actually worked for the IRS. He used to bring that thing into the IRS, lugging his little typewriter, so I think that's great. This I'm very proud of. This is a Hollywood Reporter Key Art Award that I won for doing a gross trade ad for Dumb and Dumber. That was back when I was working at the ad agency. This I'm very proud of. This is a Van Gogh Award, and yes, it is an ear, and that was given to me with a special painting event that I did. A friend of mine, Susan, thank you. I collect antique cameras. I love cameras. I am a photographer. I love to do video. I'm going to share with you my prized possession of a camera. This is a 1917 Kodak Eastman Girl Scout camera. And it even has the emblem on the bottom of it for the Girl Scouts. These are bellows. It opens. If you did a horizontal shot, you just rotate this. This is really great. I love this piece. It even has, as you see in the back here, this little pouch. That's what they wore on their belts, the little Girl Scout uniforms. I have the brownie cameras and stuff, but this 1917, this is just the best camera I own. This camera is also really cool. This is the very first portable Super 8 movie camera, okay? And it's fun. I'm gonna open it up. You would not normally do this if you were shooting, but I'm gonna open it up for you because now, they didn't have batteries back then. So how do you think you shot this camera? You actually wound it up and then you would shoot it. So I don't know what that does to your movie when all of a sudden you start running out and it goes slower and all of a sudden you're shooting in slow motion. The other really interesting and unique thing about this camera was this is the very first portable 8mm movie camera. They didn't make 8mm film. There's actually a setting in here. Well, actually, it's right here in the front. This setting is so that it will shoot, you loaded 16mm film in it, it shot half of it, you'd flip the film around, it would shoot the other half, and they would split it in the lab, and they turned a 16mm into 8mm film. And that's how they did it with this camera. Great technology. Here's something really interesting though. How do you think you look through this? There's no hole, and your lens is here. Interesting. The lens is actually here in the viewfinder. Here in the handle. You look through this, and it's got a little frame on that side that frames it up. So your viewfinder was in your handle. It's got a tripod mount, so I'd imagine they'd mount this, wind it up, and it's a little portable movie camera, and it's almost the size of a cell phone. Hello. Moving on down the wall here. One of the things I like is toys, and I like to play games. So I have this little, Adam and Eve doll that you can push on the bottom like those little kids' toys. I think this is fabulous. I work with an architect. His name is Doug Rucker, and he wrote a book called Building a Home That Loves You. And one of his philosophies is if you want a home that loves you, make sure you're surrounded by only things that you really love and care about. So that's what I do, and that's why I have fun little things. This is my name tag from when I worked at an office. This is a painting that I got from one of my professors at Art Center. That's a Dwight Harmon. I love crystals and minerals, and this is Chinese fluorite. This is my favorite. It's a Bob Ross bobblehead, and it has fabulous inspirational sayings just in case I get stuck. Let's hear if we can hear what he says today.
Let's get crazy. What the heck? Take a 2-inch brush. This is your bravery test.
That's it. Pick up a 2-inch brush. This is your bravery test. This is what I need on a daily basis. The other thing I have, which is a old antique, they were actually made from the 1920s to the 1970s, and I wanted to share it with you in case some of you may have never seen it before. It's called a Leroy lettering set, and it's quite unique in that this is how you would do typography back in the day. They would have a T-square and a ruler, and you would get these templates. You had uppercase and lowercase with the numbers. Let's see if I have, here's your lowercase set with the numbers. They had this great little tool, and the back of it has a pin. One is to guide you through the template, and one is to track it so that it keeps on a straight line. And then you would circle these. These have little grooves in it, and you circle it, trace it, and you get perfect letters. You can adjust the separation. You could use either a rapidograph technical pen, and stick it in here, and that's how you would get your inking. Or, in case you didn't have this, the set itself actually comes with these great little independent nibs that you just put a drop or two of Indian ink in there and insert it in, and then you have it just to do a small amount of lettering. This is a very unique and something that I very rarely ever see, so I wanted to share it with you in case you'd never seen that before. I think it's really important to keep a very organized closet so it's extremely easy to find your stuff. So I will quickly go through and just explain what I have and how I have it. These are all technical pins, rapidograph pins type nature. Above that are tools, things like a hot, blow gun for when you do an acrylic pour of natures. I've got airbrush paints. I've got a lot of camera equipment. Those are P2 camera batteries. They're big, so they got a whole bin to themselves. I've got custom stamps, all kinds of stamps. Adhesive sort of things. Papers. I've noticed being an artist is all about owning a lot of paper. So here's a lot of paper. This is scratchboard. These are all my scratchboard tools. There's some scratchboards in there. This is all my inks. Of course, everybody has to have, done their face in plaster. So I've been sitting with that for 20 years. I don't know why. Watercolor bins. This is airbrush. I've got watercolors. I've got color pencils. These are things, obviously, if I'm going to dry a painting. I love my tabletops. I'll use that to the racks for drying and airing. I've got my acrylic paints. I've got big bins for acrylics and oils, and then I have mini ones that always have a full palette that are more portable, and my watercolors are on the bottoms. I have butcher papers. I have both a roll of brown at the very corner of that you may not be able to see. I have white butcher paper. These are my smocks where they hang so that I'm ready to go when I'm painting. That's all my stuff. Now I will show you the others. Okay, I have, you may not be able to see from this angle, but I've got fabric paint, sculpty clays, I've got chalks up top, I've got, this is all my my tapes. Yes, there's a lot of tape in there, and it takes up 2 bins, not 1, way too much tape, a lot of different types of tape. This is really cool. This is a 3D printing pen. You can freehand print stuff with plastic. I highly recommend you YouTube that and look it up. It's fun, it's amazing. I've been playing with it. I've been having a great time. Again, these are my papers. These are all papers for my die cutting machine that I'll show you later. I do funny things like little greeting cards, or say like a 3-dimensional H die cut printer. I've made pop-up cards. I have a lot of fun with that sort of stuff. This is my templates, everything from your Chandler rulers to your ellipse templates to all that good stuff is kept in here. These are my little portable bins. These are funny. These are little train cases from olden day. And I keep them because they don't tip. It makes them really nice to keep art supplies. This one's very heavy. This is oils, acrylics, watercolors, and drawing material. And those are so that I can grab them. And if I'm going to go do a figure drawing workshop or with a long pose, I can go ahead and do that. This is my plein air rig, and I would like to just show you. I know you guys like to see how my plein rig sets up, and I've done a lot of modifications, or a few, so let me share that with you. This is my plein air rig, and it is called a beach comber. So you can wheel it off onto some rough terrain if necessary, as you can see. And then what's really great about it, after you get to the location where you want to be, if I actually open it up, it becomes your chair. Yay! I also highly recommend that when you do go out in plein air painting, that you get yourself a good UV shirt so that you're protected from the sun. Even got a little hood, see? So, and my hands are protected, which is great. So here is my plein air rig setup. I have an umbrella to keep me, and I modified this. I added little rubber scrunchies so that when I mount my umbrella, it has what to grab onto. Otherwise my umbrella would catch the wind and it would fall over to one side. That little rubber grommet makes it much better. This is a Sun Park 200. It is a outdoor plein air easel. It's kind of like a tripod, telescopes very easily. I like an extra couple inches. This is my normal setup. Guess I'm very testing the wind today for how well my setup works. I want to share this. This is I modified this. I used a paint stick and I cut it and I put some screws in it and a steel rod that way when this goes in here, it holds it very sturdy. And this means I can sit down and my knees clear it, see? Otherwise, you had the problem where it was too low and it was hitting my knees. Here's where it's got a little shelf so I can put a block of paper, watercolor paper, whatever I had prepped to paint on. I have a plein air watercolor palette. That goes right there. And I have this awesome collapsible water cup. That also fits in a groove right there. And for brushes, paper towels, and other things, I used this little bag and attached actually paper clips. And I hook it onto the back here like this. And my paintbrushes and everything I need would be in there. And now, with no further ado, I am ready to paint. Oh, I would pop open the umbrella and I'm ready to go paint and have some fun. So I'm happy to join you outside sometime very soon. I actually have two studios. I have what I call the dry studio and the wet studio for multiples of reasons. This is the dry studio because this is where I paint digitally and I don't have to get wet or dirty, and we try not to keep wet things by all this electronics. So everything you see here is actually tied in and connected to my computer, including this turntable. I like to spin vinyl and have it go straight into my computer to record it. I have a die cutting machine, so I can make cute little die cut figures. Also in my stereo is a 5.2 surround sound system that's powered by 3-foot speakers with 12-inch woofers. Yay, for all you techie music people like that stuff. This is a flatbed scanner. This is my laser printer. And this is my giclée printer. I can do up to 13 inches, so I can do 12 by 18 or 12 by 24 in a roll on canvas, beautiful archival giclée print. So I realized I said this is where I paint in dry medium, so now I'd like to just show you a little bit about, painting in Photoshop and painting digitally. This is a pressure sensitive Cintiq tablet, and it allows me to paint digitally. To give you an example, here's a brush and I can just go ahead and go in and paint, alter things, do a comp, do an entire painting this way. Sometimes it takes it a while to catch up because I'm a little fast. And this is my, of course, dry studio where I can paint and create and have fun. And this is how I've earned a living for a very long time. So both, but it's made me really want to be a fine artist. And at this point in my life, to endeavor to go ahead and pursue the fine arts and be able to be free. Although I think this is just truly another medium for an artist. I still think you have to be an artist. Although I happen to have started with a painting of mine, but still just the same. You can create it, all kinds of brushes, change the size and shape of things however you want to do it. Just a lot of creativity. If you'd say, whoops, that was awful, you could always undo it. I always wish in life I had an undo button, and especially when I paint in oil paintings, it's like, can't I just undo that? That was awful. So you make that brush stroke and you go, gee, where's that undo button? Well, if you worked digitally, guess what? You have the undo button. Yay! So this is another way that I work. This is very much of my life, the digital format. Having lived in this house for 16 years, I have had the luxury of making it very custom for my needs. So this is actually where the washer and dryer would have been in the home, and I went ahead and built in the washers and dryer in the garage so that I can use this as extra space for my studio. The one thing I have is this 28-inch guillotine, as I call her, and I've had her for about 30 years. The problem is cabinets normally are 24 inches deep, not 28. So I had this custom built to house this so that I can use it, and I do use it all the time. There's a light box here. This is really nifty. Just turn it right on, boom, got a light box in case I need to trace or draw anything. I'll give you a little bit of what I do. There's markers up there, everything from Sharpies to Copies. These are, everybody should have one of these if you don't. It is a texture box. It is a box I use to create textures, laces, screens, just gadgets I find that I think might be cool. That's my texture box, framing fittings and gloves and whatnot. Here is how I keep my, my adhesives, my spray mediums, my glosses, my varnishes, cleaning stuff, spray paint. These are my solvents. And obviously my oils, my Turp, my Gamsol, all that good stuff that we all very much need and love. And it's all here. And in this side, I've got things like pencils, pencil sharpeners, automatic, electric erasers, all those fun things that everybody needs. This is my shipping and receiving. I do a lot of, I sell through Etsy, artbyhelane.com, my shameless plug there. So here's how my shipping and receiving area works. So I have my boxes and all my packing ready to go when I need it. And this I love. I know these were actually kitchen cabinets, but this is essentially flat files. So this is all paint brushes. This is an absurd amount of paint brushes. Every time I see a deal, I buy brushes. I'm going to stop doing that because once I put them all together, I realize I have more paintbrushes than any human being needs. These are very fun though. These are special effects paintbrushes with a lot of different interesting textures and shapes to play with. So always got some fun stuff. I use bar soaps. If anybody has, I don't have it here, but those the master soaps. This is from Princess Cruises. They're the exact same size, bar soap. You drop it right in your plastic thing, clean your brushes. Use bar soap. After every use, I wash my brushes. Here's all my pads, plein air pads, anything I'm gonna need. And then down here is my oversized, I'm not really gonna pull it out, but it's my oversized, my full sheets of watercolor paper and such. So now we'll move into what I call the wet studio, my favorite part. So, why do I refer to this studio as my wet studio? Because, of course, there's a bar. I have a lot of fun things in this bar that I just wanted to share with you. This is Foggy Bottom whiskey, and this is actually a whiskey bottle that I did the illustration and artwork for. So we love to have a representation of that. Foggy Bottom whiskey. I have a shot glass collection here of different places I've gone and traveled. Over here I have a 007 shaker for martini, and that came from the Quantum of Solace Hollywood premiere screening, so that was awesome. This is a little Foggy Bottom whiskey, one-shot whiskey flask. It's so cute. And this is one of my favorite prized possessions. This is an Alfred E. Newman Mad Magazine shot glass. So this is my bar. I wanted to just share it with you really quick and show you some of the fun things I have. Also the benefit too of having a nice bar sink is I can get a big watercolor tub or water tub under there and fill it. Also, if I need to, in an emergency, clean something, I've got water right here next to where I work. So the bar, the wet studio. Let's move right along for more fun stuff. One of the things I've mentioned is that I really like to collect my friends' artwork and keep it close by me to make me warm and fuzzy. I have a friend, Danny Krause. He is a bronze sculptor in China. We grew up together in Westlake, and we would go to art shows together and win a bunch of awards, him as a sculptor. When we were kids, he would do casts and molds of these old school Coke bottles back from when we were in high school. And then he had, in the 2008 Olympics, he had Coca-Cola actually sponsor him to run with the Olympic torch for the Beijing Olympics. And so he made this in honor of that, and I had the honor of getting to own this sculpture. And this is an actual replica of the torch. He brought it over to show us from China what it looked like, the actual torch he ran with. So this is really meaningful to me, and this is kind of represents my whole life of collecting art from my friends. The other things I mentioned I like toys and I like antiques. So I've been trying to modify and work on this pachinko machine. It does shoot balls. This is a counter and a timer. It should show you how long you've been playing for and how many balls you shoot out. And so little thing I modified. I made this funny little basket using my 3D sketch printer pen, oddly enough. And then again, if I ever just feel lucky while I'm painting and I want to try my luck at a one-armed bandit, this is my mystery maker slot machine. This is very old. It takes old English pence from the turn of the century. Some of the coins I have go back from the 1800s. So this was American ingenuity of gambling and slot machines, and this was the Japanese version of it, and so I like to have them around available. Also, I just want to maybe draw your attention to a couple of my gold and platinum records. I do have 6 in total, and they kind of live throughout my house in different places. This is my painting setup. This is how I like to work. I'm left-handed, so I like, obviously, my paints always to my left. And I take these little fold-out tables and I actually kind of wedge it in this weird angle so that I can get up close and personal and actually stand in front of my easel when I'm working. This is a magnifying glass light. I actually put it on a chair on purpose. That way it's on this little step stool and I can move it around, flip it, use it. If I need to magnify and do some small detailed work, that makes that easier. I want to show some little fun things I have here. This is just like one of those little mailers that they sent me that I just took with scissors and cut little lines with it, and then I can paint with it and make really consistent linear paint strokes with this. The other thing I did was I took a ruler and I just taped erasers on the ends of it, and then this makes kind of a good maul stick for being able to paint a straight line, especially if I'm working like more in acrylic and an area is dry. Obviously, if I'm going to do a larger thing, I need a larger maul stick. That's kind of a joke. I think I would use a pool cue, I often use the pool cues, which is kind of why I have a pool table in my studio. Again, it also works as a good surface table for drawing art and whatnot. This is something too I want to show. We love all these personal little modifications. This is something a friend of mine, Steve, made for me, and it folds up like this so that it fits inside my bin if I'm taking it to go, and you flip this open, and that way you can lay your brushes open and have access to what you want. I have some great little detailed, special effects brushes that I particularly like. So some fun ways, different ways of working. I keep my paper towels here using a bungee cord, and then this is just for the rags for when I'm done. It makes everything really accessible. And of course, I've got about 25 feet that I can walk backwards and take a look at my art and take it compared to the computer, which is where I used to have actually my photo references. I usually just boot up the computer so that I can see and I have good reference of what I'm working on, and I can always blow something up if I can't see it really well. So this is an example of how I work, and now I want to talk to you about my paintbrushes because I really love paintbrushes. I'm a little OCD about my brushes. I clean them after every use. I love the bristles. They have to be perfect. I am very OCD about my brushes. The way that I keep my brushes are in these lovely little containers. Some of these ceramic pieces are actually pieces of artwork that my children have done, so they kind of mean a lot to me. But the other thing I do that I don't see artists doing that I would like to suggest is these are separated by the types of hair that they are. This is all mongoose. These are all my mongoose haired brushes. These are for oil painting portraits and some really fine acrylic, although I prefer to use these for oils. These are synthetic soft sables, more for watercolor than acrylic. This is my specialty bin. This comes with a lot of really fun toys to play with, things like a piece of bamboo that's cut like as if it's a quill, you know, a lot of fun things to do. Obviously different brushes, harder brushes, softer brushes, harder, you know, bigger splatters, softer, mistier splats, burnishers. These are some of my favorite brushes. These are called dagger brushes. These are special effects dagger brushes. I love these. These are my favorite. That's why I keep them here. I use this one a bit too. That's why it lives in here. Along with palette knives and any other little things that I think might be fun. That's kind of my have fun and play with it. By the way, I have sculpting tools in here also with softer rubber ends to making textures and drawing into paint, sticks, you name it. My fun box. Moving on, these are more real sables, soft sables. This is all watercolors. These are bamboo brushes for watercolors for the people that know do watercolors. These are my synthetics. Now I keep a small synthetics. These are for all the smaller ones, and these are for the larger, fatter synthetics. Interesting, I always wash with the soap and water and scrub it into the palm of my hand and really clean my brush as well. These are very, very used brushes. These are not brand new brushes. The only color that I notice that stains is the phthalos, and specifically the phthalo blue. I do a lot of oceans. So, and if you notice, the only ones that's staining really are the synthetics are keeping the color of the phthalos. Usually if I use other colors and wash this 2 or 3 times, this will actually fade out, and that's why some of these don't have as much or have a more faded out look to them, is because they've just been washed more periodically, and just whenever I hit that cerulean blue or a phthalo green, boom. The alizarin crimson's another color that can be prone to stain, but I just don't see it. I don't use it enough, so I think you see the more the phthalo blues, and mostly on just the synthetics. Even my hog hair brushes, it washes out of when you wash them, and these are my rougher hog hair brushes for oils. So I wanted to show you, because actually keeping your brushes separated by what kind of hair they are as to what kind of paint and stroke you want to lay down, and having accessibility to them thus easily is really, I feel, highly helpful. This is one of my prized possessions. This is actually a 1850s Edward Duchaux easel. He actually had a store in the 1850s in New York, in Manhattan, and he's actually famous for having been a canvas stretcher, and he would stretch canvases. I love this easel. I don't usually paint on it. I more often use it for photographic purposes, which I'll show you. But one of the little details I wanted to show is this beautiful little linseed oil cup on it, as well as a little hook for your turpentine. The whole box part opens for paints and whatnot. Interestingly enough, is it actually has nails over here that actually are for your canvas to clamp the nails in. It does on the top. It's really for a 6-foot canvas or a 10-foot canvas. It's for a really big canvas. The other little details I'm going to drop down and show you is there's a little water ring right there on the base of the easel. And the bottom, I first thought it was oak because it looks a little yellow. Come to find out that the person who owned it before me smoked a pipe, and he used to keep the pipe on the left-hand side. So this easel actually has been published in a book. This easel belonged to Marge Rucker, and this was her father's easel. This was a book that she published. I worked with her, and it was called In My Mind's Eye, and this was her father's easel. So when you look at the picture of this actual easel in her book, you can see the actual place where her father kept his paintbrushes, and that matches the watermarks on the base of this easel, as well as there's the evidence of the pipe that he smoked and why the base of the easel is actually yellowed. So I love this easel. It means the world to me, and it's just one of my prized possessions in my studio. In my wet studio, I also like to move the furniture around on occasion and morph it into my photographic studio. This is the setup that I have to photograph artwork. I use a muslin, dark valued black backdrop. What I've done is I set up two strobes. These are strobes. They have a sync cable so that the camera will trigger them to shoot. The way that they're located is they're actually located directly in front of the art. The lights don't point at the art directly. They point at each other at a perfect, 180 degrees facing each other like mirrors is the way they're supposed to be. The artwork is supposed to be centered perfectly in the middle of it. And these two are set at the same power levels. What that does is it floats your light evenly across the surface of the painting instead of actually giving you any kind of a hot spot or actually directly lighting the painting itself. So what I'm doing is those lights are set up in between the camera itself and the artwork, and then it's set up in a way that it just literally floats the light across the surface. So to give you an example, this is the main light and this is a slave light. The sync cables automatically trigger, and this is what it looks like when I take a picture. Boom. I'll just do that one more time. And I adjust it with the f-stop, and voila, this is my photo studio. One of the things I noticed that a lot of people like to talk about on open studio tours is how we frame things. And I make my own frames, so I wanted to share that with you. A floater frame for me is just a piece of, this is just a piece of molding that I bought at Home Depot. It's just regular molding. I think it's like $1.50 for a linear square foot. It's very cheap. And then I go ahead and put it on a saw, and I cut 45-degree angles, wood glue it, staple gun the joints. I have a strap that I use to tighten it to give a perfect 90-degree angles on the 45s once I cut the little molding from Home Depot. This I wax. You can actually, I could stain them. I could also do the front on a bevel to make it look a little bigger. The bigger part, or the cooler part, is these little black fittings are plastic 3D pieces that I designed a template for it, and I have them printed at the public library. I get about 38 of them printed for $2.30. It's a really efficient way to do it, and I can just screw my canvas then right into the floater frame just using plain pine molding. And instead of spending $60 on this frame probably took me about 20 minutes to a half an hour to make, and probably cost me all of about $5 to $6. So that's my suggestion for framing. This is a really unique little piece of studio equipment that I truly wanted to share with you. This is a 18 by 24 set of flat files. I actually made this with a friend of mine, Steve Kaminsky. We made it together in his wood shop, and it's got rolling caster wheels so I can roll it all over. I added this little fabric. He kept his open. I don't like dust, or especially with my newsprint. I don't like the newsprint to get faded by the sunlight, so I can actually dry pieces of artwork in here. This is where I keep my mats, my mat boards and stuff, my already cut mats. And from here down, each one of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's about 1,000 figure drawings in each of those shelves. And the bottom shelf is blank paper yet to be drawn. These cabinets are where I hide my books and canvases and some other art supplies. Thank you.
Wow, Helane, I've never seen anybody with that many art books.
Yeah, that's a little crazy, isn't it?
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Well, thank you. And if everybody would like to unmute and ask Helane any questions, she had a ton of information there. I can't believe how knowledgeable you are. I'm dying to learn how to do those frames, because I do hate spending, close to $100 every time you have to frame something. So,
you showed us pictures of trophies, but we just caught a glancing glance. So I'm wondering what your trophies are for.
Yeah, okay, they're kind of funny. When I was in college, I did a speech. One of them was actually for a speech. It was for, I wrote a poem called Voyage into an Artist's Brain, and it was creative prose and poetry, and that's what I won the trophy for. And the other one was given to me by a production designer. It's kind of a faux Oscar. It's not a real Oscar. So they're not so much for art like the other stuff.
Hi, this is Joan. Can you tell me again, when you were doing that framing, did you use your 3D printer to create those plastic?
Well, Yeah, I don't have a 3D printer. I have a 3D sketch pen, but the public library has a 3D printer. So all you do is upload the tool that you create, the template. Mine was made through a software called Rhino. You just upload the 3D print template to the public library and they will print it for you at basically the cost of the plastic.
And then the monitor that you use for doing your digital painting, what was that called?
It is a 24-inch high definition touch Cintiq. CINTQ. I'm trying to think of how you spell Cintiq. QI.
QUE maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Or when you it's by Wacom. WACOM. If you look up Wacom,
Okay.
they have all kinds of Cintiqs. Cintiqs are the pressure sensitive tablets pressure sensitive monitors that you can draw on. It's also, this one is touch. This one I can make it like an iPad where I can use my fingers to squash and blow up and throw it from monitor to monitor.
Yeah. And you Photoshop, the software?
I use Photoshop and I also use Procreate on an iPad. But on the computer, I use Photoshop. And Illustrator, but mostly I draw on Photoshop.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure.
I'm envious of all your spaces. My God.
Thank you. I've worked a lifetime to literally to create this and modify it to just the way I want it.
It's awesome that you can do that.
Thank you. Yeah, my daughter was living here during the beginning of the pandemic, and Wendy kept asking me to do an open studio tour, and I'm like, I really have a great space I want to share, but not while I have kids living in it.
Well, I wouldn't get any work done, Helane. I'd be in there playing pool and all the games and drinking that booze you showed. And
you need the distraction, don't you?
So, do we have any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, when is she going to open a museum?
I'd like to.
Exactly. That's a lot of stuff. So
I just love antiques. I really do.
Really?
They're just old and fun.
I have a question. What format does your antique camera use? What film format? Is it like, 4x5, 35 millimeter?
You mean the bellows, that old 17, God, I have no idea. I think it was like kind of a 110, but old school. I'm not really sure.
Just curious.
It takes up the whole back.
Okay.
Of the camera.
So maybe like a 2x3 or something.
Yeah. I can figure out how to open it. I don't remember how to open it offhand, how to load the film in,
Yeah, that's okay. I was just curious.
It took a big format, not like 35 millimeter at all.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah.
Such a cool camera. Oh my gosh.
Very cool.
I have another question. You've been really successful selling your art online, is my impression. And you use Etsy and you also sell directly from your website, or what do you attribute your success online to?
Lots of promotion. As I sell through Etsy, I've been working really hard, Instagram and social media posts. I try to post once a day, every day. That's been building up more. I've paid for paid Facebook ads. I did that just the month before Christmas and wound up selling a few pieces that way and getting more. But I budget like $5 a day, and do some and launch different Facebook ads to specific demographics to try to sell work. A lot of it is promotion. You've got to just get yourself out there constantly be promoting your brand and awareness that you're out there. So that's what I keep trying to do, and I keep trying to build up momentum. I was in a gallery for a while. I had gallery representation, but with the way of the modern world is today, I'm actually now more successful with the Etsy sales than I was even in a brick and mortar gallery. I definitely get to make more percentage of profit when I do sell.
Yeah. Well, congrats on all that.
Thank you. I'm really building it. I'm just starting. I'm still trying to build it, and I'm still trying to figure out all the tricks of making it work right. Etsy, I highly recommend though, setting up a store through somebody that is really has it well organized. Etsy deals with all the sales tax that's collected whenever I sell anywhere in the United States. I've even sold to Canada. They collect all the sales tax to every county and everything, and they pay it on my behalf. And I just get a statement to give to my accountant at the end of the year. Otherwise, if you're selling through your personal website, you're responsible to collect sales tax from every county and state you sell to. And that's crazy for a single human being to manage.
Yeah.
So I know Instagram, I think Shopify or something has a kismet relationship for selling. I think Kathy Copsey uses that combo. Her and I have talked about it. She has a lot of success selling with that combination. So there's different stores besides Etsy. I did a lot of research, took about 2 or 3 weeks researching all kinds of places. Gallery, Shotza Art or something is another one. There's a lot of them. So you got to find the one that is a match for you, and just be careful at how much percentage each one of them wants to take.
Yeah.
He seems to be the cheapest.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good luck. Keep in touch with me. We'll work on promoting ourselves and pushing ourselves.
Sounds good.
I like it. And on that note, wanted to let everybody know we had a studio tour cancellation in June 2nd. So if anybody's interested in doing a studio tour, we'd love to fill that last spot for the year. So go ahead and email me, Wendy W. Gordon with an I at gmail.com. So, or let me know right now if you're interested. So I'd love to fill that last spot.
Helane is a hard act to follow.
Is she?
I know. she covered everything. But, Helane, thank you so much. We really appreciate your knowledge, your presentation, and all that you shared with us. And we look forward to seeing more of the work that comes out of that studio.
Yay, me too.
Yes, and thank you everybody for coming today. And we've got a fabulous couple things this month. Of course, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Great demo later in the month, and in the middle of the month, it's all in the newsletter. We have a wonderful social media instruction on better ways to use Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, were those the ones. And it's free, so you might as well come. You might pick up some more knowledge on how to sell your work and, you know, tips. So hopefully I'll see you guys all on those also.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you all soon.